Hey, y'all, Keandria, aka Key, aka Key to Your Goals, and we are back for part two of the Balancing Act called Reclaim My Time. As a reminder, in part one of the Balancing Act, we talked about core values. We talked about knowing your core values, why knowing your core values is important, and we worked on identifying your core values and seeing how your core values fit into your time. So today we are going to talk about reclaiming your time. So when you're reclaiming your time, what is most important about that is auditing your time. Audit your time. So, on part two of the Balancing Act, we are talking about reclaiming your time through a time audit. So, before we can get into the time audit, you got to ask yourself a few questions. Most importantly, how the hell am I spending my time? How am I spending my time? So, when you ask yourself that question, you want to be realistic, okay? You want to be realistic. How much time are you spending on social media? How much time are you spending in traffic? How much time are you spending watching TV? How much time are you spending with family? How much time are you spending alone? How much time are you spending out to eat, traveling? You want to identify all the things that do take up a lot of your time and be realistic. How much time are you actually spending doing those things? So what the hell are you doing with your time? That's going to be the very first thing you want to ask yourself. Now, why is knowing this important? Why does it even matter for you to know how you spend your time? So this is important because if you don't know how you spend your time, how are you going to audit it? How are you going to audit your time if you don't know what the hell you even be doing? Okay. Well, a lot of time when people are thinking about how much time they spend, the first thing they think about is, oh, I spend 40, 50 hours at work and then that's it. Like, no, it may seem like that. It may seem like all you ever do is spend 40, 50 hours at work, but there's a lot of hours in a week, okay? There's a lot of hours in a week, and your work schedule is still just a chunk of time in the week. So you want to identify the other things that are occurring in your week, that like the things that I listed before. Traffic, how much time you spend with the kids, time watching TV, all of these things. You want to identify all of these things because you're not going to be able to do a proper time audit if you don't actually know how you're spending your time, if you're not being realistic about how you're spending your time. So when you don't know how you're spending your time, another issue that pops up is that you are going to be just aimlessly doing shit. You're just going to be aimlessly doing shit. You're going to be sitting on social media 3, 4, 5 hours a day, not realizing it. You're going to be sitting in front of the TV 3, 4, 5 hours a day, not realizing it. So we're doing that 3, 4, 5 hours a day each. That's 10 hours. Your work day is 8. That's 18 hours gone already. What you doing for the rest of them? 2 hours in traffic. So if you don't know how you're spending your time, you're going to be spending it doing a whole bunch of things that don't matter. Again, in part one, we talked about core values because you want to start aligning your time with your core values, and we're going to dig deeper into that as well. So why is the Balancing Act series beneficial? So this is beneficial for millennials who are sick and tired of hustle culture. You're tired of people saying you need a side hustle. You're tired of people saying you need a second job. You're tired of people saying that you need to work harder to survive on the earth that God already gave us. Them folks making us pay for water, land, everything. At this point, we're probably paying for the air. So you're tired of a capitalistic society that is dictating how you spend your time. You're tired of a capitalistic society that is dictating how you spend your money. You want to have more freedom. You want to have more balance. You want to be more in tune with who you are, what you want, and how to get those things. So that's why the Balancing Act is beneficial, because it is for you to increase your awareness, to have an intentional focus on your goals, and not just do whatever the world or society is telling you to do, but doing what actually matters to you. All right, so let's get started. Let's go through the 5 steps that you're going to take in order to do a time audit so that way you can reclaim your time. Step 1, you're going to decide on a time tracking method. You may be somebody who's old school and you're like, I'm writing everything down. Cool, do you. You may be someone who's super organized, and so you like Excel spreadsheets. Cool, that works too. You may be someone who is very like more technology oriented, so you want an app or something like that. Google an app, find an app that works best for you. There are so many out there. Me personally, I'm old school. I like to write everything down. The Excel spreadsheet gets to be too much for me. The apps get to be too much for me. And I'm someone who likes to take time away from my phone. And so personally, when it comes to time tracking, I write it down. It works better for me. So when you choose your time tracking method, you need to get ready to use that method to track down how you spend your time. And so that's gonna be based on which method you use. Like if you use an app, they're gonna walk you through it. If you use an Excel spreadsheet, you can find Excel spreadsheets that track time. Again, Google it. You'll be able to find a spreadsheet or a Google sheet that already has everything laid out for you. You'll just input the information. And it'll probably look something like activity, something along these lines. And if you're a paper person, this will probably help you too. So activity, time spent. And for me, it's just that simple. Because right now you're just tracking. Right now you're not trying to decide how to change your time. You're not trying to do anything but just increase your awareness about how you are spending your time. So that can be as simple as writing down the activity and the time that you spent on that activity. So let's say when you woke up this morning, right? You spent 20 minutes scrolling on IG. And again, you are tracking your time with no judgment. This is just for your awareness because you need to know. No one else is going to see this unless you want to post it online or share it with a friend. And that may be a good idea if you need more accountability. Like if you feel like you're someone who's not going to track your time for real and you need accountability, maybe sharing it with someone or teaming up with someone else to do this will be helpful. Scrolling on IG, 20 minutes. Okay, so after you finish scrolling on IG, you got up, did your morning routine. Or your house say hygiene, because a lot of people don't have a morning routine, but they're going to take care of the hygiene in the morning. Good for you. Even if you don't have a morning routine, the hygiene is very important in the morning. So let's say it takes you 30 minutes to finish your entire hygiene routine. So maybe that's taking a shower, brushing your teeth, washing your face, doing your skincare, all of that. So let's say that takes you 30 minutes, right? You have to get to work. You got to get to work. Work is a 45-minute drive, right? So drive to work. That's 45 minutes. And when you fill this out depends on how disciplined you are. Like in the beginning, I would advise doing this in real time. Like literally like when you get up, when you get up from the bed for scrolling on IG, go ahead and put in your tracker that you were scrolling on IG for 20 minutes. When you finish your hygiene, go ahead and put in your tracker that you spent 30 minutes on your hygiene. Once you get to work and you're sitting in that parking lot, go ahead and put in your tracker that it took you 45 minutes to get to work. Let's see, drove to work, right? So let's say even, and you should be tracking your time even at work. So let's say even while you're at work, let's say it took you had a project, right? Had a project, it took you 1 hour to complete that project. So also track the things that you're doing at work because this is about work-life balance. This is about using the same things that you're going to do to enhance your personal life, to enhance your time at work as well. Because knowing how you spend your time at work is very helpful because to be honest with y'all, you don't need all them 8 hours. You do not need that whole 8-hour shift to get your work done. You honestly don't. Some people do only because they're not managing their time wisely. That's why we're doing this. You don't need your whole 8 hours to work. And that's one of the things about hustle culture is that they try to get you to hustle culture wants you to think that you have to work every single second of like you being paid, like in the sense of let's say you make $25 an hour, right? Hustle culture is telling you that every single hour you're on that clock, you need to be working hard as hell for that $25. That's not what I'm teaching you. What I'm teaching you is that once you start auditing your time and you start knowing how you're spending your time and you start learning how much time things actually take, you'll start to realize that, I really only need to work about 5-6 hours to actually effectively get this work done. I only need like 5-6 hours, not the entire 8. Don't tell them that at work though. Don't send your bosses to me telling them I told you don't work your full 8 hours. That ain't what I said. That ain't what I said. All right, so step 1 is going to be decide on a time tracking method. Once you pick your time tracking method, stick to it. Stick to it for the entire time that you're tracking, because if you find that you don't like the time tracking method, just change the method for the next week and try that one. Because a lot of this process is going to be trial and error anyway. Like you may think that you're someone who likes apps and then you're using apps and you're like, I can't keep up with this damn app. Let me go write this down instead. So it's trial and error anyway. Don't look at this as like like one size fits all, or you're going to find your perfect match on the first try. If it's not working, scratch that method after a week and then try a new method for the next week. All right, so step 2. So after you decide on your time tracking method, step 2, visualize your ideal day. Visualize your ideal day. And this doesn't have to be something, if you're not someone who usually visualizes or does meditation or anything like that, this is not this deep practice. This is literally about taking a seat, sitting in a quiet place, and thinking about what you want to happen from the time you wake up until the time you go to sleep. That's all that is. That's clearing your mind, taking 3 deep breaths, clearing your mind of everything else, and only focusing on what you want your ideal day to look like. So some questions that you can ask yourself is, what do I want to do when I wake up? What do I want to do around 11 a.m.? What do I want to do around lunch? How do I want to wrap my day up? So while you're visualizing your ideal day, focus on your 5 senses. What are you smelling throughout the day? What are you tasting throughout the day? What are you eating for breakfast? What are you eating for lunch? What are you eating for dinner? What are you feeling throughout the day? Where are you going throughout the day? What places make you feel this way throughout the day? So when you're visualizing your ideal day, focus on your 5 senses and ask yourself about that. What do you hear? Where are you? Ask yourself these questions as you visualize your ideal day. And then once you're done visualizing your ideal day, write everything down. So everything that you remember from your ideal day, write it down. And when we're talking about ideal days, you have to release limits, because if you go into this visualization with limits, it's not going to work. What's going to happen is you're going to be thinking about the fact that you have this 8-hour shift that you got to work tomorrow. And you're like, oh, I can't really have an ideal day because I have to go to work. We all got to go to work. Well, not most of us have to go to work. I have to go to work. Okay. So don't think about that. Think about what you want your day to actually look like. Focus on that. And focus on that for a few minutes. And if you are having trouble visualizing your ideal day, do it repeatedly until it becomes clearer. Because again, y'all, trial and error. This is all about trial and error, because you have to figure out what works best for you. And when you have no idea, that takes time, because that takes time for messages to be sent to you so that way you can gain more clarity. And that takes action on your part. Like when the universe and when God sees that you're moving, it's going to move with you, and it's going to start providing you with the answers that you want, the clarity that you want, the ideal days that you want. So keep that in mind. Now that you have your time tracking method, you visualize your ideal day. Step 3 is to track your time for a week. Track your time for a week. Track it for a whole week. And that's just nothing but awareness. That's nothing but awareness. Nothing but awareness. So this is no judgment. Don't change anything. Don't do anything different. This is just for awareness. You need to track your time in your time tracking method for an entire week. Now, this is important because this is what you're going to use in order to reclaim your time. You cannot reclaim your time if you don't know how the hell you're spending it now. Because all that's going to happen is you're going to be like, oh, I'm reclaiming my time. Okay, anybody wasting my time? I'm standing on business like how we said in part 1. Ain't nobody wasting my time no more. I'm not wasting my time. And then you end up wasting your time because you don't even know how you're spending it. So you don't realize you're wasting it because you said that you're reclaiming your time, but you're not doing the things that you actually need to do in order to reclaim your time. So again, step 1, decide on the time tracking method. Step 2, visualize your ideal day. And then step 3, track your time for a week. So step 4 is going to be assess your results. Assess your results. So at the end of the week, remember, you track your time for an entire week. Remember, no judgment. This is just tracking the time. You track your time for an entire week. So now you want to assess your results. You want to pull that tracker out and you want to go look at all the things that you did that week and how much time it took you to do those things. That's it. So you're going to go back in and you're just going to assess your results. You just want to see. That's it. You just want to see. How much time did I work this week? How much time did I spend on that project? How much time did I spend with the family? How much time did I spend with myself? We talked about core values in part 1. How much time did you spend on those core values? How much time did you spend on things that don't actually matter to you? How much time did you spend on things that are going to help you grow, elevate? How much time? That's it. Assess your results. That's it. Simple as looking at it. How much time did I spend? Because again, in order for you to really audit your time and change your behavior and change your habits, you have to know where your time is going. Because everybody makes that excuse. I don't have time. Girl, I ain't got time for that. Girl, I have time to do that. Like even the simplest things, like I work out like 3-4 times a week for the most part. And people are always like, I don't have time to go to the gym. I don't have time to work out. You do have time. You literally have time to do anything that you want to do as long as your mindset aligns. But if your mindset is consistently, I don't have time, then you're right, you don't. I saw a video on TikTok recently, and she said that she said if you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you fight for your limitations, you get to keep them. So if you're fighting for this idea that you never have time, then you're right. You never have time. You're never going to invest time in the things that matter to you. You're going to spend your entire life in this hustle culture, in this cycle of fulfilling this capitalistic dream. And that's on you. You know, choice is yours, as I always say. Okay. So again, step 1 of reclaiming my time. Decide on time tracking method. Visualize your ideal day. Track your time for a week. Assess your results. And then step 5, the final step. You're going to create a hustle to harmony plan. See, the hustle to harmony plan is going to take your time tracking. It's going to take your time tracking, and then it's going to take your core values, and then we're going to align these things. We're going to align your time and your core values, and we're going to create a new plan, a new schedule for you for the next week. A new plan, a new schedule for you for the next week. Realistic. Again, we're talking realistic. So a lot of times people are not able to commit to new plans or create plans and stick to them because it's not realistic. You are not going to track your time. You are not going to track your time and find out that you spent 4 hours on Instagram a day. Hey, do you? You're not going to do that this week, spend 4 hours on Instagram this week, and then next week magically spend 0 hours on Instagram. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So when we're creating a hustle to harmony plan, what you're doing is you are taking the things that was on your tracker that are taking up more time than need be, and you're just reducing them. You're reducing them small increments at a time until you get to the point where you've reduced those things that don't align with your core values so much to the point where the things that do align with your core value have time to fit into your plan. They have time to fit into your schedule. They have time because you have time. The time is there. A lot of people are just spending time on things that don't actually matter. And then that becomes problematic because then that's how you end up in this hustle culture cycle, because you have that constant anxiety that the world is giving you that's saying that you need to be on it every single day, all the time, doing exactly what you need to do. That's not what this is about. The hustle to harmony plan is about creating that balance. It's about creating that balance. It's about saying, I can still spend time on Instagram, but just not as much time. Or I can still socialize, at work, but not as much as I was. So it's about changing the frequency of these habits and of these behaviors that aren't conducive to your core values, that aren't conducive to the growth that you want to have. And that is what these 5 steps are about. And that is what the Hustle to Harmony plan is going to do for you. So with the Hustle to Harmony plan, you are going to take your time tracker. You're going to take your time tracker and everything that you tracked on there, and you are going to reduce the time spent on activities that don't align with your core values. Again, if you have not identified your core values, that is going to be necessary for you to complete this step. So please go back and watch part 1 of the balancing act, and then come back here. So you're going to reduce time spent on activities that don't align with core values, and you're going to increase time with activities that do. You're going to increase your time with activities that do. For example, one of my core values is family. I love spending time with family. I love making sure that I dedicate time to family every single week. But in my time tracker, if I notice in my time tracker that family is a core value, but I only spend an hour with my family for the week, and I mean intentional time, not just sitting around being with each other, but like intentional quality time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the time to do activities with my family for the next week. And that doesn't have to be like this whole, let me plan a big family vacation next week. No, it's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, hey, you're saying that family is a core value, but you only spend an hour with them this week. So if family is a core value for you, then you need to figure out a way to spend more time with your family next week. If that's a game night, if that's a night at stars and stripes, going bowling, going skating, that's any going out to dinner, any activity that you know is going to give you more time with your family for the week, that's what you're going to do in the Hustle to Harmony plan. So thank you so much for joining me on part 2 of the Balancing Act, where we discuss reclaiming your time and the 5 steps that it takes in order to reclaim your time. Stay tuned for part 3 of the Balancing Act, where we're going to talk about how to create new, healthier routines. And you're going to learn how to take your core values, your Hustle to Harmony plan, put them together and create these healthier routines. Thank you. See you next time.